Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Coast to Coast Sports Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Trevor Dalton. Alongside me is my co host, Evan McVeigh. And boy, oh boy, this past week we've had a lot happening within the sports world. NBA obviously is pretty crazy right now. We just had the draft go on the past 2 days. And then also some big time trades happened. Giannis Antetokounmpo on his way to South Beach, and LaMelo Ball is also headed to Minnesota. So we'll be talking about that. And then we've also got some news coming out of the NHL with Brady Tkachuk heading down to South Florida with the Florida Panthers to join up with his brother Matthew. Some other trades going on there as well in the NHL. Not too much happening. It doesn't seem like there's as much action in the NHL as opposed to the NBA. But we'll talk about that for a little bit. And then, of course, the World Cup's going on as well on U.S. soil. The U.S. plays tonight actually, against Turkey for their final group stage match. And Mexico and Canada, the other hosts of the tournament, have already qualified for the round of 32. So we're going to be talking about all that today. And Evan, how you doing, bud? It's been quite a crazy week going on for sure in the sporting world.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's definitely been quite the week. I feel like we just did our first episode and we still have a ton of stuff that just, happened in this past week to talk about. But it's a very exciting time to have the World Cup going on and still have all these great off-season sporting uh, news going on. So I'm excited to get into it today. But we can start off with the NBA. The biggest one is obviously going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo, who got traded to the Miami Heat past couple days, I believe on the 22nd, so about 3 days ago.
Mhm.
Um, in the trade, they traded him and Bobby Portis, another longtime Buck. They got back a bunch of young guys, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Yaku Chonis, as well as one of the stars for the Heat, Tyler Hero. A bunch of picks, like three first rounders, couple swaps, second round pick. Um, I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on it because I know I put up a clip going over what I thought of the trade, but I'm intrigued to see what you have to say about both sides of this deal.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you said in your clip. It's just it's a big question mark. Obviously, props to Pat Riley. I mean, we got to give him credit, right? You know, for a long time now, he's been one of the best executives in the NBA. Going back to the days where he got Dwayne Wade in the draft and Shaquille O'Neal traded for him, and then LeBron James, and then probably most recently prime Jimmy Butler. Now he's gone out and gotten Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I pretty much had a very similar opinion to you. Is they don't really have too many guards now left on their team. And we're also hearing rumors now that Norman Powell is likely not going to re-sign with them. He's going to head somewhere else in free agency. And the interesting thing too is when you think back of the Milwaukee Bucks, I think one of the problems that they had was that like Giannis was really the only guy there, and I don't really see Giannis, being not necessarily not like a number one guy, I would say, but like more so just like a ball handler. Like this guy might be taking the ball up the court for the Miami Heat because they just have nothing really for their backcourt. Um, I do like though that Bobby Portis was also a part of it. I think Bobby can bring great energy. He's a good defender, good rebounder. But yeah, I think with the Milwaukee Bucks, they got a whole bag from this. Three first round picks, Then you get Tyler Hero as well. We all know the story with him. He's from Wisconsin, so it's a homecoming for him. I bet you he's really excited about that. Jaime Jaquez Jr. too is me and Evan are a fan of him. You know, watching him back at UCLA, he was a great player, and he's been pretty good for the Heat as well. I think Kasparis Yakachonis is a really interesting part of this deal too because it's a 20-year-old guard and he has such high upside, really skilled, talented player. But yeah, one of the biggest trades for sure in a while and for the NBA.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people I keep seeing, they're saying Giannis is in the same situation, just in a warmer climate.
Yep.
Which I honestly, I mean, I see where they're coming from with it, but I don't totally agree. I mean, Bam might be the best player he's ever played with as a
hmm
co-star. I mean, Chris Middleton was good when they went and won the championship, but Bam Adebayo is in a different league of Chris Middleton. Like he's a genuine star. We saw he literally broke Kobe's record for scoring this year, which was crazy. But I mean, having him and Bam is going to be a great duo. But as you said, not having Norman Powell does really change my outlook on it. I mean, they're going to have to rely, if he does leave, they're going to have to rely a lot on Jovic, who is very unproven,
hmm
Pele Larson out of Arizona, who was a rookie last year, had some good flashes, but they're going to like rely on these guys as like guys getting quality bench minutes on this team. And I just don't see how well that's going to work out. Um, I believe they had like one pick in the draft. I don't even know who they took. Um, they got Ryan Conwell. Not really even familiar with him out of Louisville. He's another guard, I guess they can add to the rotation, but I think the biggest question mark is especially without Norman Powell, like how is this bench going to look? Because now you probably have Pelle Larson in the starting lineup at this point if you
hmm
don't have Norman Powell. So that's the biggest question mark for me.
And I think another thing too to bring up is like in our last episode, we were talking about how one of the reasons why the Knicks won the championship was this year was because they had so much depth, and it's just such an important um, part of a team to have, not only in basketball but any sport. You know, if you don't, you can have all the top end talent that you want, but if you don't have that depth, then you know, in a league like the NBA where it's so competitive, you're probably not going to be able to survive to the championship that way. But I do agree with you. I think Bam's easily the best player that Giannis has ever played with. But then again, you go back to those Bucks teams, you know, that were successful and the one that eventually went on to win the championship. You know, they had Chris Middleton. Um, they had Drew Holiday as well, who was the main primary ball handler on that team. So they had really, really good guards on that team. And I think that's why it was so successful. Like Giannis was still the number one guy, but he didn't have to carry the load all the time, and he wasn't the main primary ball handler on that team. So I think it's going to be interesting for sure to see what Miami does. You know, maybe we got free agency coming up in 5 days. Maybe they go out and try to sign some guards, but I don't know. I don't think they have too much cap space. I mean,
Yeah,
we can
that's
look
the
up that
issue.
up as well.
I think I saw something that they had 18 million in cap space. I don't know if that's including Norman Powell leaving. I think if Norman Powell were to leave, they would have a little bit more cap space.
hmm
But even still, they have a good amount of like rotational players that they still need to sign, where I don't think they have a great amount of cap space to be able to fill out the roster.
Yeah,
So it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing.
definitely. And I think, you know, coming from two guys who are diehard Boston Celtics fans, this was obviously a little bit disappointing for us. we really, really wanted Giannis. I mean, let's just make that clear.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
just because it's felt like now, with Kristaps who left and then Al Horford left, we just haven't really been able to fill that role of having a main, big on our team. So that was pretty disappointing for us. But, you know, Evan has said this a lot in our group chat. I just have so much trust in Brad Stevens, and I heard also that there were rumors that Brad kind of pushed for this trade so that Miami would actually have to give up more. And he kind of, putting Jalen Brown in that trade. And then apparently it was two other first round picks that we offered. But there was also rumors that Hugo Gonzalez was supposed to be in it. Apparently he wasn't. But having those rumors come out probably led to Miami saying, hey, we have to give up more to go get
Hmm.
Giannis.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to point out too. But, you know, we'll see how it all unfolds. It's going to be really interesting for sure.
Yeah. And I don't, for Milwaukee's side, I don't mind the trade. I mean, they got three promising young guys. Hawkes, Khalil Ware was pretty good this past season. Like you said, Yakuchonis has a lot of potential. Pick wise, I mean, they got this year's pick, which turned into Nate Ament, who could be pretty
Hmm.
solid. Um, and then they got two other first round picks, so we'll see what they do with those. But I don't think they have their first round pick like next year or in 2029 because they probably moved those when they were trying to fill out the roster for Giannis. So for Milwaukee's side, I think it's probably as good of a haul as they could have got in the position that they were in. Everyone knowing that Giannis wanted to leave, so I I think they did pretty well on the trade.
Hmm.
And you could go into LaMelo Ball, which just broke this morning.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of weird because nobody really was hearing about this, and then Shams comes out. I think it was right after the draft,
yeah, right
um,
after the draft.
and he pretty much was just like, "Yeah, obviously, right now a lot of trade rumors with the Boston Celtics and Jalen Brown, which are still going on right now as we speak." But then he was like, "Another superstar to keep an eye out on is Melo Ball." And he ends up going to Minnesota, the Timberwolves. Him and Josh Green for Naz Reid, a 2023 unprotected first round pick, three first round pick swaps, which I really don't know how I feel about the pick swaps because it's such a risk. Like, you really don't know where each team is going to end up at the end of the year. And then there's also three second round picks, too. So, what a trade. And it's going to be quite the backcourt we got in Minnesota with LaMelo and Ant
Yeah, I'm
together.
sure the Minnesota media is not thrilled with this news,
No chance.
having to deal with LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards over there. Um, I don't like this trade at all for Charlotte. I genuinely don't see what the point was other than dumping LaMelo Ball's salary, which I mean, fair enough, I guess, if you want to cheap out and get rid of your star player, but I feel like if they had shopped him around more, they probably could have gotten more for him. I mean, like you said, the first round pick swaps, I mean, you're swapping with Minnesota, who's a better team than you. So unless you expect that this is gonna launch you into a top three seed in the East, which I do not see happening,
Hmm.
the pick swaps aren't going to mean anything because you're just going to keep your own pick. So those basically mean nothing to me. The unprotected first round pick in 2033, sure. I mean, that could end up being good, but LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards are both 24. I mean, if they keep those guys around, Minnesota's probably going to be pretty good for a long time. So who knows how good that pick's going to be? And then second round picks kind of mean nothing in the NBA, anyways. The only thing of value I really see in this trade for them is Nas Reed, but I mean, they're kind of already flooded in their front court where they have a bunch of guys that play decent amount of minutes, but there's no one great. Um, I just think I just don't see why Charlotte did that. And on the Minnesota side, I don't get why they moved Julius Randle if they were planning on thinking about moving Naz Reid, because that does not
Hmm.
make sense to me either. So their front court is basically Rudy Gobert, and you're gonna have 6'9" Jada McDaniels playing your four. And who even knows who is on their bench that's gonna play in the front court? I mean, now they're flooded at the guard position because they just re-signed Io DeSumo to a massive deal. They have DiVincenzo still, who might not play next year because of the Achilles. But I just don't get, honestly, for both sides, I kind of don't get it at all.
Hmm. And I think the interesting thing too with Minnesota is that like they play in the Western Conference, and the West is dominated right now by, you know, front court just bigs that are outstanding. You know, you look at the Spurs, they have Victor Wembanyama. You look at the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic. Then you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, who already have Chet Holmgren, but now have Adai Mara as well, who they just drafted out of Michigan. You know, a lot of the top teams in the West are very, very big. And I don't know if I see, you know, a world in which Rudy Gobert is playing, obviously, but then you have Jaden Daniels, who's 6'9", you know. How are they going to be able to respond to those, you know, big time centers that are out west? Um, but I think it's pretty interesting, too, that, you know, I'm a huge fan of Naz Reid. I think he's a great player to have. You always need to have those players that are just, you know, energy spark plugs in your team. And he does all the dirty work too, rebounding, defending, all that stuff. But I love how you brought in Julius Randle as a part of this as well. Like, it was another trade that I was pretty surprised with because it kind of came out of nowhere, you know?
I totally get them salary dumping Julius Randle,
Mm-hmm.
like, but if you're gonna do that, I just don't see if you do that trade, in what world are you even thinking about trading Naz Reid? That
Mm-hmm.
just I don't get why you're doing or getting rid of both of them. Um, Especially when they had to give up a first round pick to get Julius Randle off the books. So it's like you dumped your salary, gave up a first round pick, and then you traded away your other front court guy next to Gobert. It just doesn't really make sense to me, especially like when you said that there's obviously Wembanyama, Jokic. There's a bunch of good bigs in the West. I mean, Rudy Gobert obviously is fantastic defensively, but again, who are you bringing off the bench to spell Rudy Gobert that can put up a fight against these guys?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then just some other NBA news as well. Kobe White signed a 3-year, $74 million contract to return with the Charlotte Hornets.
That totally makes sense if you think about them
Absolutely.
getting rid of LaMelo Ball. I mean, I guess they have total faith in Kobe White to be their point guard going forward next to Conconnipple, that they felt
Hmm.
comfortable getting rid of LaMelo.
Hmm. And then another one too, our good old pal Al Horford, um, signing a 2-year extension with the Golden State Warriors. Al, we miss you a lot, buddy. We really do. Um,
I would take him. I would take him
I
right
would
now.
too. I would too. I think he's an upgrade from the bigs that we have right now. So, um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, I think looking at it now, we're still waiting on Jalen Brown, see where he's going to end up. I mean, I'm guessing he's probably going to get traded out. I don't really know if you can, you know, I understand that like Jalen Brown, we tried to trade him back in like 2022 for Kevin Durant, but now that it's happened a second time and with him on the Twitch stream saying what he said about this year being his favorite season, even though 2 years ago championship with him as Finals MVP. It just seems like the relationship isn't going to be repaired at this point, probably. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. I don't really know where he's going to go, to be honest. Like,
There's been so many different
yeah,
rumors that have come
scenarios.
out about possible landing spots for him. I've seen Atlanta, New Orleans, the Clippers, like the Timberwolves were one that even after LaMelo Ball, even after that trade happened, they were saying that they're still interested in Jalen Brown, which also makes no sense. I mean, who are they even giving up to get him at that point? But they were rumored to be a spot before they got LaMelo. But it seems
Hmm.
like they decided to go with LaMelo over Jalen Brown, which, to be honest, for how much they gave up to get LaMelo, I kind of agree with them going for him instead of Jalen Brown, because you probably would have had to give up a lot more to get Jalen Brown. But I know I agree with you that at this point it's a lost cause that Jalen Brown is. I think he's played his last game on the Celtics. I do not see him staying on this roster.
Hmm. And I want to say this too, like, with all the stuff that has happened, over the past 2 months or so, the Celtics losing to the 76ers and, Jalen saying that stuff. I want to say thank you to Jalen Brown because let's not get it twisted. This guy was a phenomenal basketball player for us. I mean, came in from UC Berkeley. I think he was drafted, what, like 2 or 3 overall. And
Yeah, I think he was three.
uh-huh. And he was just a fantastic player for us for many, many years. I think it was always just so much fun seeing him and Jason Tatum, and the duo that they became. It was by far probably the best duo in the NBA over the past, 5 years. So it was good to see. I think another destination to keep an eye on is definitely New Orleans too, because there's been a lot of talk about Trey Murphy possibly being traded out of there, and I know probably the Celtics would be interested in picking him up. So, but yeah, lots of speculation going on for sure around Jalen Brown.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen a rumor of like Trey Murphy and a Herb Jones, which I don't mind. I think if we got some draft capital back in that too, I'd probably be okay with it. I've also seen people float around Zion, which I'm personally good on Zion, but
Me too.
I don't know. We'll
The
see.
best the best ability is availability. So
Yeah. And that's another point about LaMelo, which is interesting, is that this year was his first year in the past like three that he's stayed healthy. So
mhm.
is it a Charlotte saw this opportunity as a moment to cash in high on him? We'll see. We'll see if he can be available going forward. I think he was pretty healthy his first two seasons, and then the past three he played less than half the year. But he managed to stay healthy this year, so it'll be interesting if he can keep it up going forward. Um, then there was also a rumor Kawhi Leonard is possibly interested in going back to Toronto or San Antonio. The Clippers haven't said that he's available or anything, but there has been a report that he's open to an extension with either of those teams.
Very interesting. Guys feeling
I mean,
nostalgic for sure.
I don't know how San Antonio would work. I don't think they even have like cap space,
Right.
but I mean, maybe if they got rid of De'Aaron Fox, actually, that would be if they got rid of De'Aaron Fox and added Kawhi, that team would be
My God.
crazy.
Just outstanding. All right, so now we're going to head into the draft, which happened over the past 2 days. Obviously, AJ DeBonta, first overall to the Washington Wizards. Kind of funny when I was watching it live, they said his full name, and I had no idea who they were talking about. I thought it was kind of another like an Anthony Bennett situation where they were saying somebody that nobody knew about, and somehow they were going first. But then you hear DeBonta Jr. and I was like, okay, AJ number one. But it was pretty much consensus that it was going to be either AJ or Darren Peterson at the one spot to Washington. I think Washington's definitely trending upwards for sure. They haven't really been too good for a long time. Seems like ever since, John Wall and um, that era happened, seems like the Washington Wizards have just been downhill from there. But now they have DeBonza. Obviously, they just signed Trey Young to a 4-year, I think it was $212 million contract. And then, of course, they got Anthony Davis in a trade this past year with the Dallas Mavericks. So interested to see what that team is going to be like this upcoming season.
Honestly, I think they're at least going to be in the play-in. They might even
Hmm.
be a playoff team. I mean, if they stay healthy, like you said, Trey Young, Anthony Davis, now DeBonta. They have D'Angelo Russell as well. They have a bunch of pretty good young guys too. Like they have Trey Johnson, who they drafted last year. They have Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, obviously. Um, they also have Bilal Coulibaly, who's
Hmm.
was pretty good for them this past year. They are a very interesting team. Um, Again, it's weird because it's like none of these guys that like these three guys they added, Anthony Davis, Trae Young, and Devonta, all haven't played a game for the Wizards yet. So they're a complete like unknown. Like they could end up being, I could see them as high as like a 5 seed.
Hmm.
Um, like the only teams in the East that I am confident will be better than the Wizards, obviously the Knicks, Celtics, probably the Heat, Cleveland. Outside of those four, I'm not that confident. Actually, Detroit. Forgot about Detroit. Those
Hmm.
five. So like I could see Washington as high as a 6 seed. But I could definitely see them in the play in this next year.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely trending upward for the Washington Wizards. Um, but I got to tell you this, Ev, like I don't know if I've ever seen a draft that has been this deep in my almost 26 years of living on this planet. This draft was outstanding. There is so many good players in this draft. Like Darius Acuff Jr. went seventh. I mean, he might be the best player in this draft, and he went seventh. That just tells you how much depth there is in this draft. So many great players, and even like in the second round too, a lot of great players were going. So interested to hear from you. Like, who do you think really did well in this draft in terms of teams?
It's interesting. I'd love the Acuff pick, like you said. I don't know why he slid to seven.
Hmm.
I personally, in no world, would have taken Keaton Wagler over him. But I mean, the Kings might have lucked out getting Acuff all the way at seven. Another pick that I really liked was the Sixers at 22 getting LeBaron Philon. I think he has the chance to be a top three guard in this draft. Um, and I guess it kind of makes up for them trading Jared McCain for absolutely nothing when it ended up turning into LeBaron Philon, who I think could be really good in the league. Um, like you mentioned, some more late first round guys like Cameron Carr slid a lot further than I thought he was going to go. He could be really good for the Lakers this next year with a guy like Luca at the point, distributing to him. Terrace Reed is a guy that I would have loved to see in Boston. I'm
Hmm.
also fine with Chris Sinak. I think he has a lot of potential. He's a little more raw, but I think he has a lot of potential as well. Um, I think there weren't a lot of teams this draft that I honestly think did poorly, which I think is more a testament to how good the draft class was. There weren't really a lot of picks that I saw that I wouldn't have taken. Like the lottery to me was pretty spot on. There was obviously guys you could move around in different spots. Merez Johnson, I'm not too high on, and I don't think Dallas is a great spot for him either. But I mean, I expected him to go like late lottery. So there weren't really a lot of guys in the lottery that I disagreed with going that high.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, with Moritz Johnson, it was like so interesting because obviously Dusty May, another news coming out of the NBA is Dusty May is now the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Good for him.
Hmm.
I think, obviously there was a lot of speculation around Dusty May, whether he was going to, end up going to North Carolina, which I didn't really think made too much sense just because Michigan is, in my opinion, just as big of a brand as UNC is. But, obviously Yaxel sitting there too. That must have been a tough decision to make. You're picking between those players that you coached in college and, you know, really
And
interesting scenario for sure.
a day Mara as well. I personally
Mm-hmm.
thought they were going to go with Mara at 9.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for sure Mara or my second guy would have been like a Yaxel or a Nadament for them. I didn't really see Morez being the pick. I mean, guess it makes sense with Dusty May there, but I honestly would have thought they would have gone with one of the other two Michigan guys over Morez. Um, yeah, I mean, there were guys in the second round that I like think could be pretty good in the league. Like Isaiah Evans, I think has a lot of potential to be a 3 and D type guy. Braden Smith could be a solid, bench point guard in the league. Um, Otega away from Kentucky, I think has a chance to be one of the better guards in the draft. Even like a Bryce Hopkins, like toward the end of the draft, like I think has some potential. Um, yeah, again, like the entire first round, I don't see many guys in there that I'm like 100% sure they're going to be a bust. Like I don't think there's that many that are obvious in the draft this year, which is not usual at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think looking at, some of the winners from this year's draft, obviously, like you said, it's just such a deep draft to the point where it doesn't seem like there's a lot of losers. But for me, there was really three teams that stood out. The first one being the Chicago Bulls, getting Caleb Wilson at number 4 from UNC. I absolutely love Caleb Wilson. I think he's going to be a monster. Um, really good forward out of UNC. And then they also got Dalen Swain from Texas, guard from Texas. And I just remember watching this year's March Madness tournament, and Texas was, the first 4 team in that went on that big run. There's always typically
Hmm.
one first 4 team that goes on a run, and it seemed like Dalen Swain was the one that was really the driving force for that team. So I really liked that pick at 15. Um, Another team too. No surprise here, the Oklahoma City Thunder. It seems like they've been doing this forever now because of that trade with Paul George and SGA. Um, Loved the pick at 12. Adai Mara from Michigan, the Spanish kid. I think he's like 7'4". I think he's a really, really good player to pair with Chet in order to match up with Victor and, Nikola Jokic out west. Um, and then obviously, also like you just said, Otega Owe. I was shocked that he dropped to 41. I mean, he's consistently been one of the best players in the SEC for the past 2 to 3 seasons. So I was pretty shocked seeing him go down that far. And then my other team too was the Sacramento Kings. Like I said before, I think Darius Acuff is a great pickup for them. He's going to be a generational star in my opinion. Obviously, we really got a great look at him in the tournament. Carrying that Arkansas team with John Calipari. I think that the surprising thing to me with Acuff is how much he dropped, obviously, but usually we see guys drop just because of like age. Like typically teams like to favor younger guys more than like the 21, 22-year olds because they know they're getting an extra, 3 to 4 years on them. Darius Acuff is 19 years old.
Hmm.
So I really don't know how he dropped that far. Um, and then obviously Sacramento also got Alex Karaban, who is probably, I would say, the most experienced player in this draft. Um, Obviously, 4-year starter at UConn, won national championships there. He's a good example, though, like an older guy who dropped to the late first round because he's older. But then I think they also got, who else did they get? Let's see. Oh yeah, they got Emmanuel Sharp too. Um, Guard from Houston, another really really experienced guy. They got him in the second round. So I thought those were the three teams for me: Sacramento, Chicago, and OKC did a phenomenal job in this draft.
Yeah, I agree with all three of those. Um, Caleb Wilson, like you mentioned, like that's how good this draft is. Like Caleb Wilson could have been was like a potential, like he could have been a first overall type guy in a different
Hmm.
class. Um, like I think there were the top four for sure, and then I would throw Acuff in there, like top five of like guys that possibly would have gone number one overall if they were in a different year. So it'll be interesting to see as the next couple of years go on how these guys do because it just seems like this class is super stacked and that a lot of great players are going to be coming out of this year.
Hmm. All right, now transitioning out of the NBA, heading over to the NHL. The draft for the NHL is tomorrow. Obviously, the main name in this year's draft for hockey is Gavin McKenna. He's likely going to be the first overall pick to Toronto. But quite a few trades happening. Obviously, the biggest one, Brady Tkachuk, heading to South Florida to join his brother in the Florida Panthers. What a move this is by Bill Zito. Just out of nowhere. We kind of expected Brady Tkachuk to be on the move, but for him to go to Florida, that's just an outstanding pickup for them. And I think that Florida's going to be right back on top of the NHL this year. Last year, they didn't really stay too healthy. That was the big problem. Obviously, Alexander Barkov got a serious knee injury right before the season started, so he was out the whole year. He's the captain. He's absolutely everything for that team. But then also you had Matthew Tkachuk, who didn't come back until like January, halfway through the season. The year before that, he was playing on, I think it was like a torn adductor or something like that. So he had to have surgery on that. Didn't return till midway through the season. And then they had more injuries at the end of the season. Sam Reinhart got banged up. I'm pretty sure Sam Bennett was banged up too. Brad Marchand had some injuries. But that team's going to be so good. I mean, next year they're just going to be absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking up odds to see what the odds are for next year, and I'm kind of shocked that Florida isn't like a they aren't like a stand away favorite. Like
Hmm.
they're up there with like Colorado and Carolina, which I guess makes sense, especially this far away from the season. Um, but I personally, if this team stays healthy, I don't see anyone like competing with them. Depending on what their goaltending looks like, obviously Bobrovsky probably leaving. So it's going to be interesting to see who ends up as their goaltending. But I mean, their front nine is like absolutely ridiculous. I mean, like talk about a super team. Like this is the definition of a genuine super team. Like you have studs all over. Um, I don't know. I think them versus Carolina in the playoffs next year is going to be must watch TV. I'll say that.
Hmm. And I think that, over the years, we've seen that Florida is just a really, they've out physicaled everybody, and that's the reason why they got to the Stanley Cup. So bringing in a guy like Brady, who's extremely physical, great leader, can fight, can hit, I think he fits the identity of the Florida Panthers really well. And then also a trade that just happened 4 hours ago with Florida again. They got Garnet Hathaway from the Philadelphia Flyers. And you want to talk about a psychopath on the ice? Garnet Hathaway is a psychopath. He will hit anybody. He will fight anybody. He's another guy that fits that identity perfectly as well. So Florida's really, really building something here. Just some other trades to go over too. The Chicago Blackhawks and the Buffalo Sabres had a trade. Bowen Byram and Jordan Greenway are headed to Chicago. And then the Sabres received the 2026 fourth overall pick and the 2026 45th overall pick. That was pretty much a salary dump on Buffalo's behalf. They couldn't really afford to pay Bowen Byram, especially because they just gave a new contract to their young superstar Zach Benson, who played outstanding in the playoffs this year for Buffalo. So that was another notable trade that happened. And then another team, too, that's making a lot of noise is the Washington Capitals. They went out and got Jordan Kyrou from the St. Louis Blues. The Blues, for a long time, there was a lot of rumors swirling around them getting rid of either Jordan Kyrou or Robert Thomas. So Jordan Kyrou going to the Washington Capitals, I think that's a solid move, actually, for both teams, because in return, the St. Louis Blues got draft capital, but they also got Connor McMichael from the Washington Capitals, who, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated young talents in the league. I absolutely love Connor McMichael. He's really, really good young player for them. And then Washington also made another trade. I'm trying to let's see. Oh, yes, they got Alex Tuck from the Buffalo Sabres in a sign and trade deal. Alex Tuck is another great player, but it seemed like with Buffalo, they were trying to get rid of some guys to free up some cap space, especially since they had to pay Zach Benson. But definitely the Washington Capitals are one of the teams right now that are being aggressive, going out and getting Jordan Kyrou, going out and getting Alex Tuck. I think the Washington Capitals for sure have a bright future and are going to be really, really good next year.
Yeah, the East is looking more and more stacked as we go on in the
Absolutely.
offseason, which
Hmm.
seems like it's kind of changing the tide. I feel like the West has been a lot more stacked over the
Definitely.
past few years, but it seems like the East is kind of bulking up a little bit. Led by obviously Carolina winning the Cup, then Florida, and like you mentioned, Washington. I think it looks like it's balancing out a little bit more, which is it's going to lead to some interesting hockey next year.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting too. Like you had Carolina win this year and then you had Florida win the past 2 years. But it just seemed like the West was so deep in that all the teams were just beating each other up. And then obviously Edmonton was able to get to the finals against Florida those 2 years. Then this year Vegas gets there, but it almost seemed like the West was so good that all the teams were just beating each other up, and the team that survived that just had like nothing left in the tank going into the final.
Hmm.
And when you have to play, against the physicality of a Florida Panther team or the Carolina Hurricanes, you almost don't really stand a chance. So,
Yeah, 100%.
moving on from the NHL, we got obviously the World Cup going on right now. We just want to do a quick little overview. Obviously, we're still in the group stage for that. But lots going on. Obviously, the U.S. is doing really well. They've got a game against Turkey tonight. But all the host cities qualified for the knockout rounds already. Canada qualified yesterday. They're going to be playing South Africa at SoFi Stadium, and I will be there for that game. I'm headed to SoFi, and I'm going to be honest with you. That day, I'm going to be the biggest South Africa fan. Absolutely,
Love it.
I'm all in on Bafana Bafana. I'm all in on them, which is going to be great. For me personally, though, I'm not really a fan of Canada because their coach is Jesse Marsh, who used to be an assistant coach with the United States of America. He is an American, and honestly, he didn't get the job with the U.S. Tried to get it, but they took Greg Burkhalter over him, and then they also just had Mauricio Pochettino as well, obviously. So I think Jesse Marsh has kind of been on this rant of how much he hates American soccer just because he's very just down bad and hurt because they didn't end up signing him. But yeah, Canada's doing pretty well. And then, of course, Mexico, too. They went 3-0 and didn't concede a single goal in their group. So they're looking like they're going to be really good as well. And they also, it was important for Mexico to be first in their group because now they get to play in Mexico up until I think it's like the quarterfinal. They have home field advantage all the way up. So they're going to be really, really good for sure.
It's a good draw for them. The U.S. obviously also made it through their group. They're going to be playing Bosnia in the round of
It looks
32.
like, yeah.
Looks like almost 100% that they're going to be playing them, which definitely could be worse. I mean, there was a chance that we got like a Belgium, which probably would have been like worst case scenario. Um, I think Bosnia is a pretty good pull for the U.S. going into the first round of the knockout. Um, the the race right now for third place teams to get through is also interesting. Scotland obviously got killed by Brazil, so they're on the brink of possibly missing out. South Korea also had a surprising loss, like you mentioned, to
South
South
Africa.
Africa.
Yeah.
Yes, so they are also on the brink of being eliminated, which is kind of crazy with how good they looked in their first game.
hmm
Um, Obviously, Belgium, they get to play New Zealand, which they should beat and they should be fine. But if they were to tie or lose to New Zealand, they could be out.
hmm
Senegal as well. They need to win to have a chance to get in. Um, so it's really interesting the third place race to get through to the knockout.
hmm Yeah, I think the big storyline coming out of this World Cup too is the superstars have just showed up and balled out. Of course, you got Messi for Argentina. He's got 5 goals in 2 games. Just seems like as he gets older, he gets better. With France, you have Kylian Mbappe doing great things. Norway, Erling Haaland, and then how about Ronaldo coming out and silencing the haters and putting on a show, scoring 2 goals in their second game. And then another guy too, who I don't think is getting enough credit, is Vinicius Jr. as well. He's been playing really, really well for Brazil. So a lot of great talent going on right now, and it's good to see all the great teams really playing well. And it just, I think it lines up to be a really, really exciting tournament and an exciting knockout stage for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting that I feel like more went on in the NBA than World Cup since the last time we shot an
hmm
episode. So
Definitely.
next time we record, we should have a better idea. We'll probably be into the or the knockout stage at that point. So that's when we'll really be getting into the nitty gritty of the World Cup. But I'm excited to see how all the matchups go.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to wrap it up for episode 2 of the Coast to Coast Sports Podcast. Thank you for watching. Obviously, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. For our first episode, we didn't receive any comments. Once again, I want to say if you want to ask questions, please do it. We're pumping out this content for you. Okay? We're pumping
Yeah,
out
we
this content. The
we
least
want
we
to
can
we want to
have from
answer
you
all your
guys.
questions.
Right. The least we can have from you guys is a little bit of interaction. Give us some comments, some questions, could be about anything. But yeah, we're really looking forward to this and looking forward to the rest of the summer full of sports for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll see you guys in episode 3.
Alrighty.
Peace
See ya.
out.